Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Come on and put your hands together because you're here.
Yes.
Come on, make a joyful noise.
Yes.
Yeah, how about a lotto winning noise?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are Ebony and Ivory, right? We're back for round 2. We were here last year, Keely Petty, and I'm Justin Lindstrom. My name means justice, and I've been seeking justice my entire career as an Episcopal priest, justice among all people. And so I'm living into my name. And Keely, what does your name mean?
Now, I told you not to tell.
I know, but
tea.
It's good.
You ever tell some tea and you like, now don't tell nobody. I told you not to tell. Growing up being traumatized also includes verbal assaults. So I grew up never knowing what my name meant. It led to low self-esteem, emotional unhealthiness. And I really don't like to say this, but God gave me back what I originally needed to maintain good mental health. So my name means beautiful and exquisite.
Yes, and you
Isn't
are.
that wonderful?
And you are. Yes.
Come on, that's wonderful. Find out what your name means and live it and be it and express it. It's part of self-care and healing.
Amen. We are so thankful to be with you this day. We are the co-chairs of the event and the conference, and this is our 9th year, the 9th Pathways. Let's give that a round of applause. Yep. From the very beginning, this was a conference that was designed to bring the mental health world and the spiritual world, the faith world, as well as the clinical world and all the different worlds together that we could actually find and discover a pathway to hope. And this year, our theme is It's a Journey, because it is a journey. It's a journey of love, it's a journey of grace, it's a journey of care and hope. And we will be exploring all of those things this weekend, and we give you thanks for being here. And it's just been an incredible conversation to have, and we're still talking. Even through the pandemic, we had this conference. It was online via Zoom, and I'm thankful that we are in person, aren't you? Yes.
Yeah, come on, clap it up. We're in person.
Yes.
We're in person, and that means something because during COVID, we saw heightened mental health issues arise. So the fact that we're in person really should be celebrated. Now give yourself thanks for being here in person. Come on.
Yes.
So we have added so many wonderful conversations. We've launched Bridges to Care. Listen, these are some things that are happening in the community. We have built up the faith community. Trained over 8,000, come on somebody, over 8,000 people and engaged over 70 different congregations. 8,000 people, y'all, are now able to assist anybody who may have a mental illness or a mental moment. Sometimes it's not long, sometimes it's just a moment. So 8,000 people have been brought to the conversation. All of this has grown a network of sessions that brings us here to the Pathways to Hope conference today.
And this year at the Pathways to Hope conference, we have 13 other NAMI affiliates from across the United States who are logging in and going to be viewing everything that we're doing here. So 13 other conversations like we're having around the nation. That is incredible. Last year, we began the Doug Beach Pathways to Hope Award, and we gave Judge Nelson Wolff a beach chair, right? Because who needs another award to hang on your wall? We need a beach chair so you can go and retire and enjoy life. And Judge Wolff is now retired and probably hanging out on some beach somewhere in his beach chair. Well, last night, we gave out the 2 awards for this year. Our 2024 recipients are the Reverend Dr. Kenneth Kemp. Yes. He's the senior pastor at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. And the other award went to Gilbert Gonzalez, and he's the recently retired Director of Behavioral Health Services for Bexar County. And so Dr. Kemp and Gilbert, we applaud you and we thank you for your service to this community. We hope you'll enjoy your beach chairs.
Oh,
Yes,
gosh,
yes.
absolutely. Who doesn't
Yeah.
want a beach chair? This year's conference will feature guest speakers from all across the country. They will talk about issues, particularly mental health support issues. This year's conference will focus on 6 areas that speak to the theme of our conference. We just told you the theme of our conference. Can you repeat it back to me? Come on, say it. It's a journey.
There you go.
That gives you an opportunity to pump the brakes and yield and glide your way into your healing. So when you registered for this conference, you received a link, a download app for the conference that you can actually use on your mobile device. This app will have each of the workshop and conference events along with the location for each session. If you need help with the app, I'm not the one. I'm not technically inclined.
Find a 12-year-old
However, you can go out into the foyer and find a youngin', and they'll be glad to help you.
That's right.
We have a helper here. Stand up and let them see. Yay!
Yes.
She will help you. And then also, again, you can stop by the registration table for questions and whatever else you need. How about CEUs?
Yes.
Continuing education units for our workshops on today and tomorrow. You'll learn more how to obtain your CEUs while you are in each workshop.
Yes, I think you scan a QR code on your way in and on your way out, and the app will automatically send you your certificate, which is great. Mm-hmm. So working on this conference has been an absolute joy. Our planning team has been incredible, and if you see people that have a sticker on their name badge that says maybe speaker or planning team, they've just been an incredible group of folks.
I thought that meant we would just speak to everybody.
That's right. Well, we are.
You're a speaker.
That's right. So, but there's been a number of people who have made this possible to make it free for us to be here. And so we want to thank NAMI of Greater San Antonio, Bexar County, who offers this building to us for free. That's just an incredible gift. Yes, give them a round of applause. The City of San Antonio Human Services Department, the San Antonio Metropolitan Health Department, West Care Foundation.
Woo! West Care!
Methodist Healthcare Ministries, the H.E. Butt Foundation and Congregational Collective, Christ Episcopal Church, St. Mark's Episcopal Church, New Creation Christian Fellowship, and St. Mark's and First Baptist for providing parking, and First Presbyterian, who is our founding sponsor. We also want to thank Mike Fresher at the Tobin Center and all of their staff for making this happen today. Let's give all of our sponsors a round of applause. Introduce the rabbi.
Wow, thank God for sponsors. We certainly hope that what you experience for the next 2 days at this conference will be worthy for you to join us again next year and bring someone with you. At this time, we are honored to have Senior Rabbi Johanna Kinberg open our conference with an invocation. And let me tell you, her name, Johanna, means that she's graced by God. So this invocation, which means she's going to open up heaven over our activities for the next few days. Tap in as she does our invocation. Rabbi Johanna.
Thank you. Shalom. Good morning, everybody. Bereshit. Bereshit, that's the first word of the Bible. In the beginning. In the beginning, the divine energy flowed and said, "It is not good for a human being to be alone." And since then, we humans have been working, finding ways for humans to feel less alone. Mental illness isolates. We surround and uplift those who struggle, who feel alone, who often, frankly, are alone. Each of us here today play a different role in helping those who live with mental illness, which is an illness like any other, feel less alone in navigating their healing and their recovery. Each of us lifts a hand in support of the other, and it is good. Tov, it is good. We bring goodness into this world through our sacred work. May the source of strength, who blessed those who came before us, help us to find the courage, the strength, the adaptability, the creativity to make our lives a blessing. And so as we begin this sacred work today, I offer you this ancient blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you, keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May God always shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lechem shalom. Body, mind, spirit, may each and every one of you be blessed with shalom. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Kimberg. That was beautiful. We really appreciate that.
Yes. Uh-oh, cut me down.
What's that?
The mic
Hot?
is so loud.
Well, we want to introduce to you now Judge Sakai, who is our county commissioner, Bexar County Commissioner.
Come on.
And he is coming to give us a word of greeting, as well as Justice Luz Elena Chapa.
Well, good morning. Let's get it going here. Good morning. There we go. Wake up. Hey, I'm County Judge Peter Sakai, and I am honored to be part of this conference and making the opening statements and welcome you to here at the Tobin Center. You can see what a beautiful place this was built by the leadership of Judge Nelson Wolff, my predecessor. And so I know all of y'all are coming together to discuss some hard issues, hard problems. You know, what do we need to do for our community? But first, let me just express some gratitude to say thank you to Executive Director Doug Beach of the local NAMI. Can we give him a round of applause? Of course, I'm the county judge, and I can hometown it, and I want to make sure that the Bexar County employees here, where's the county, in the house? Where are you? Stand up. Let's give them an applause. The Bexar County Department of Preventative Health and Environmental Services by Dr. Andrea Guerrero, her staff, and obviously, I don't know if Gilbert Gonzalez, it was earlier mentioned, I don't know if he's in the house, but he just recently retired and dedicated so many years of service to Bexar County, especially in our criminal justice system in regards to mental health. You know, my staff prepared some speech for me, and I looked at it, I said, yeah, it's a great speech, but I decided that I wanted just to speak from the heart to you and address what I think is important about this conference. And so my first point is, why are you, especially all the providers, especially all those that provide direct services, all those that have been directed and impacted by significant mental health issues, either within yourself, your family, your colleagues, people you just know, your neighbors? It's because you're here because you care, right? You listen, right? And more importantly, you connect. And I think that's what's the most impactful thing that you can do for your community is to care, is to listen, is to connect. You know, sometimes people who don't really get involved with mental health for various reasons, there's always this question, why do you care, Judge? Why should we care? And the reason why we care and should care is because we can make a difference in our community. I'm convinced the work you do is the fabric and foundation of our community, our country. We must rededicate ourselves to take care of mental health. So let me make this final point, which I think is the most important point that I want to make this morning. Take care of yourself. It's called self-care. And you must take care of yourself. So do me a favor. I don't know if I'm going to violate some rules or you may get in trouble with your boss, but get off the social media. At least, all that trolling. Just get off of it. Why don't you quit reading your emails and worrying what's going on back at the office? And I want you to enjoy, okay, I like it, see? Come on, give me a round of applause for that one, right? Of course, the supervisors, department heads are going, no, they better not. But the thing is, I want y'all to enjoy the day by making new friends, by sharing new ideas, by coming together to make a difference in our community. I'm yielding the balance of my time to Justice Luz Elena Chapa, who I ask to please join me in welcoming you. And you'll say, well, you did it. Why did Justice Chapa need to do it? And I'll leave you with this because I think she will help explain it. It's because in the world of mental health, she lives it, but she embraces it, and she does something about it. So without further ado, let me ask Justice Luz Elena Chapa from the Fourth Court of Appeals in joining me and welcome you. Please have a great day. God bless y'all.
Good morning. I don't have that oomph that Judge Sakai apparently has. Good morning. He'll give me grief for that for the rest of the day, so I needed to show some oomph. Please know it's an honor to be before you today. Meet Michael. Michael grew up on the Texas border in a middle-class family with his college-educated parents, his sister, his twin brother, and large extended family. As a child, he was funny, loving, respectful, and intellectually surpassed his peers. His analytical and math skills were off the charts. Not only was he smart, he was athletic too. Making a home run was a piece of cake. Winning his first place medal at a swim meet was no sweat. And not only was Michael intelligent and athletic, he was tall for his age and handsome, hazel eyes and dirty blonde hair. There was no doubt that Michael was growing up to be a heartthrob who excelled in AP classes, all while winning state championships. Academic and athletic college scholarships would be in close reach. He indeed had a bright future. But then something changed in his behavior, his demeanor, the level of commitment to himself, his family, and his studies. Countless number of doctors told his mother that it was just a phase. He was simply a rebellious teenager pushing boundaries. Teachers said it was common for boys growing up on the Mexican border, Texas-Mexican border, to go across and partake in early age drinking and perhaps even smoke marijuana. No big deal. It's just a phase. Michael, he'll grow out of it. Well, you see, ladies and gentlemen, there was nothing for Michael to grow out of. You can't choose to grow out of schizophrenia. It was a part of him during his teen years, and it will be a part of him for the rest of his life. Michael is now 41 years old, and he's still the same loving, funny, respectful, and intellectually brilliant man. He has a deep and strong faith in God, but he's tired of being sick. There's no medication, no perfect medication, no magic pill that will completely silence the voices that at times torment him. I'm extremely proud to say that Michael is my little brother. I love him dearly, but there is not a day that goes by that I don't wish and pray for someone or something to cure his schizophrenia. Not because I'm ashamed or embarrassed, but because I want nothing more than for Michael to live a happy life that he can actually enjoy. There is nothing more that I want than for my mother to be at peace knowing that Michael will be okay. My mom has been Michael's tireless advocate since the day he was born, and we're incredibly blessed by her example. And as a family, we're incredibly blessed by NAMI and the supportive role it has played in Michael's life and in my mom's. My mom's here today, and but for her example, I wouldn't have the strength to appear before you today. Mom, thank you. I love you. So I have no medical background, and I'm by far not an expert in this, but I do know that if my brother had gotten early treatment, he would be in a much different place. I often wonder, would his schizophrenia have manifested and spiraled out of control? Would an early diagnosis have kept him from self-medicating? Would it have kept him out of the court system? I wholeheartedly believe that absolutely yes. Early diagnosis and treatment would have made a world of difference in Michael's life, because half of all chronic mental illnesses begin at age 14. 3/4 of those illnesses by age 24. This is why I've embraced mental health advocacy and have focused my energy on the mental health needs of our community's children. I've served on the board of Clarity Child Guidance Center for nearly 10 years. Clarity is the only mental health hospital for children specializing in treatment for kids ages 3 to 17. It's an amazing place run by amazing people. Undoubtedly, the conversation of mental health has begun, and we are making some serious progress, lots of it. And frankly, to be candid, the pandemic, well, it gave us no choice. I am, however, cautiously optimistic because progress is slow, and more than not, children's mental health is not at the top of the list for funding. It's simple. If children are treated early on, the likelihood of them dropping out of school lessens, but more importantly, the likelihood of them becoming part of the legal system decreases. We all know about crowded jails and little to no mental health beds. We all see homelessness on street corners and under bridges, citywide, statewide, and yes, on a national level. And sadly, year after year, the state of Texas ranks almost last for mental health funding. But there's hope. Last legislative session, the state of Texas allocated an unprecedented amount of funding for mental health. But early diagnosis and early treatment isn't enough, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir. Acceptance of the diagnosis is a must. Shame and embarrassment associated with mental illness still, it's so real and it's very vivid. Society's lack of acceptance of children with mental illness keeps parents from coming forward, especially in rural counties. Fear, too, might be a factor, like we've seen plague the community of Uvalde. Many Uvalde families have yet to seek treatment for a multitude of reasons, including cultural stigma. I get it, it hits home. But I will tell you this, the more we share, the more we embrace vulnerability, the more we learn from one another. And let me be perfectly clear. There is nothing shameful or embarrassing with having a brother who has schizophrenia. He did not choose to have this illness, it chose him. And in my eyes, he is a normal 41-year-old male who happens to have schizophrenia, just like someone has cancer, diabetes, or a broken arm. It's that simple. It should be that simple, but I know there's much more work to be done. And despite me learning so much through my mental health advocacy and board service at Clarity and experience as Michael's sister, nothing could have prepared me for motherhood and my 3 children's mental health journey. At home, we've always spoken openly about mental health, so I naively believed. I have 3 incredible kids, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 9-year-old. One of my daughters came to me one night while doing her homework, and she said, "Mom, I need a break. And I responded, okay, do you want a snack? Well, she said, no, Mom, I need a break from life. As you can imagine, those words shook me to my very core. As my mom has always done, I kicked it in high gear, and it was all hands on deck. The last 4 years have been hard, but the glimpses of hope throughout her journey have empowered her to reach Villanova University. And tomorrow, I have the honor and privilege to take her back to school and move her in tomorrow. She's a success story, and new chapters will absolutely be written. But I can honestly say, because of the open dialogue at home and Clarity's immense support, she is well on her way to becoming a fully engaged member of society who knows her voice and her needs. And Mr. Gillison, who you will hear from soon, thank you for the gift of you. I undoubtedly turned my pain into purpose, and my passion for mental health advocacy will burn for the rest of my days. Nami S.A. and Doug Beach and his team, thank you. My mother and Michael have resources to lean on. And Judge Peter Sakai, county leaders, Mayor Ron Nierenberg, and city leaders, thank you for prioritizing children and adult mental health in our community. We need more funding, and I know you fully recognize that. And to everyone here today, from Alaska and Rabbi from Seattle, Washington, and likely every state in between, thank you for all you do to ensure that mental health and wellness is alive and strong in every facet of our lives in our respective communities. I've never been so hopeful. And for that true gift of hope, I'm so grateful. Please enjoy the conference and San Antonio. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Chapa, for being such a great advocate and a voice for all of us. The next part of our program this morning is going to be an interview, a conversation with Dan Gillison, who's the CEO for NAMI National. Joining me on stage is going to be Commissioner Tommy Calvert. Tommy was born a block off Martin Luther King Boulevard to T.C. Calvert, a well-known community leader here in San Antonio. Tommy Calvert was elected Bexar County Commissioner from Precinct 4 in 2014 and is one of 5 county commissioners that help run our county. He ran unopposed in 2018 for a second 4-year term, and he's the youngest and first African-American county commissioner in Bexar County. He represents over 500,000 residents in Precinct 4 of the 2 million people that live in Bexar County. Precinct 4 stretches from Cibolo in the northeast, south to Elmendorf, downtown to the Alamo, to I-10, and to Hildebrand and Beacon Hill, and to the eastern portion of our county. And you'll hear from Commissioner Calvert in just a moment. I also want to introduce, before they come out, I want to introduce Dan Gillison. Dan is the CEO for NAMI National. He's come here today from NAMI headquarters in Washington, D.C. He's recognized as a change agent. He's been transformational for NAMI National and for all of us throughout the country that work with NAMI. He provides strategic leadership to NAMI with more than 30 years of professional experience and a deep passion for mental health advocacy, fueled by his own personal lived experience with mental illness and its ripple effects on families. He also serves on the National Institute of Mental Health, or National Institute of Health's Advisory Mental Health Council, the Lululemon Global Wellbeing Advisory Board, and the National Health Council Board of Directors. He's received numerous awards, and I won't even attempt to go into all those today. But under Dan's leadership, NAMI has expanded its national helpline through texting services, produced its first national best-selling book, You Are Not Alone, and formed its first ever Young Gen Youth Advisory Group. And the direction that he provided to NAMI during the COVID has allowed the organization not only to adapt, but grow from that experience. Before coming to NAMI, Dan led the American Psychiatric Association and Foundation, and he'll say a few words about it today. Sorry, can't stop everything all the time. Where he's responsible for strategic planning, personnel management, board communications, oversight of the APF's public education. Dan holds a BA degree from Southern University and A&M College and completed the executive education from the University of Richmond and Harvard University. So I want you to join me today in welcoming Dan Gillison and Commissioner Tommy Calvert.
Well, thank you very much, Doug, for that introduction. We're so excited to have Dan Gillison in San Antonio. Give him another warm Texas round of applause. And I just want to say what I said to Justice Chapa behind stage. That was a powerful testimony that is not easy to do, even for an elected official. And I told her that she gives true meaning to her name. Luz in Spanish means light, and she was a light. Would you give her another round for her testimony? Dan, you know, all of us have been impacted by mental health. Doug had a tragic incident with his son, and Dr. Whited, who is my appointee on the mental health board for the county, the Center for Healthcare Services, she was the principal of the San Antonio Independent School District Alternative School. Yes. And she took me on a tour, and she said, many of the people who wind up in the justice system were in the alternative school with undiagnosed mental health issues. And I remember appointing her to the board because I wanted to see a day where our schools had counselors. Yes. Back then, superintendents were afraid that there would be backlash from parents saying, I don't want you to tell me my kid's bipolar or schizophrenic or what have you. And the pandemic transformed that in I would say 6-7 short years in office, a tremendous sea change. But for you, was there any personal incidents of mental health issues that you've experienced?
Well, first of all, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Doug, and thank you to all of you all for welcoming me and NAMI National into your venue. This is incredible. And to every one of you all that do what you do, thank you, because you are impacting lives in so many ways. In terms of answering your question, yes, my personal journey is one that I had a contemporary that I grew up with. Myself and my first cousin were like brother and sister. We were born in the same year. We grew up together. We were the role models for our younger siblings, and our parents were always saying, well, watch them because we want you to be like them. And we were going to be the first to go to college, and that did happen. I did matriculate through college. And at 26, she lost her life to suicide. And we never had the chance to enjoy the success of making that first, being the first to go to college. The ripple effect to my family was tremendous, but it was also a tremendous ripple effect to her father and mother. My uncle, her dad, was a semi-pro football player. He was about 6'4", weighed about 250. After losing his daughter, he started getting into substance use abuse, and he passed at about 130 pounds. So from substance use to navigating the loss of his daughter, that ripple effect for my family is it's 2024. This happened in 1986, and my family has still never talked about it. So the impact is that I want to change that for any other family navigating either one of those situations, and everything else that we're talking about with mental illness. So that is what has brought me to this. We say at NAMI that most of the people that work at NAMI, their purpose is started with pain. They turn that pain into their passion, and that passion is very powerful, and that's what we're trying to lead with.
Well, thank you for sharing. I had a dear friend who, when I was about 23, 24, committed suicide, and he had called me within, I would say, 24 to 48 hours of his death, and it was really late. It was, like a 3 a.m. call, and I didn't get to answer that call, and there's a lot of guilt about why and would I been able to do something, and I hope that this conference will be able to help people through those questions and those internal struggles. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Doug, did you want to mention
Dan,
anything?
you want to tell people here in San Antonio just a little bit about NAMI, its size, impact, and the work that we do?
Yes, thank you. NAMI is an organization, and I may get a little animated, so you guys okay if I get a little loud? Everybody okay with that? So let me just say that, first of all, in the front row, we have two of our past board presidents and representation from the great state of Alaska that traveled over 3,300 miles to be here. So Ann Ringstead, Shirley Holloway, and Adrian Kennedy, thank you for being here with us. So now let me tell you about NAMI. NAMI is an organization that was started in 1979 in Madison, Wisconsin by a group of mothers and a dad or two, but really mothers. And I want to say to Michael's mom, and the justice spoke about this earlier, you are a NAMI mom, because as I heard the justice talk about your advocacy for Michael, that is who NAMI is. So what happened in 1979 is these mothers got around a kitchen table and they said that their sons had been diagnosed medically with schizophrenia. Two different moms, two different scenarios, and they had been diagnosed. And they said, well, what is going on here? And it wasn't a medical diagnosis. It was a statement that was made to them that it was occurring because of how the moms were raising their sons. And moms, as soon as they heard that, they decided to go into action and begin advocating. So we started there, and we're an organization that is a federated model, meaning that our affiliates like NAMI San Antonio is a 501c3 with their own board, with their own operating plan. And we have over 650 organizations across the country with people doing the work, providing support groups and programs. And we like to say we're the DNA in communities across the country, partnering with the communities across the country. And we do quite a bit of work on the Hill from a legislative standpoint all the way down to the grassroots. And we're the largest grassroots organization with lived experience. To that point, what does that mean? That means that our board, from our bylaws, has to be 75% representative of lived experience. Guess what, folks? Our board is 100% representative of lived experience. An example of that is a gentleman that was on our board, and I'll do this very quickly, Carlos Laraya. Carlos is a psychiatric nurse from Miami, Florida. His mom navigated things for him. He lives with schizophrenia. Carlos was a member of our national board. He then went to the University of Michigan and just got his law degree. And he represented NAMI on the Accelerated Medicine Partnership Schizophrenia project that we have been doing with NIMH, National Institutes of Mental Health, looking at the biomarkers for schizophrenia for the last 5 years. So where am I going with that statement is that when we say lived experience, we actually are doing it. That's who NAMI is. That's what we do. We educate, we advocate, we listen, we learn, and we lead.
988, excuse me, 988, a big transformation, a tremendous cherry on top of a lot of years of advocacy. Tell us what more is needed when it comes to the 988 hotline.
Commissioner, 988 is a real opportunity for the United States to reimagine crisis response. If you think about it, 911 has been around 52, 53 years. We may think about, in our lives, we think about it as always being here. 988 across the United States, only 22% of the citizens that have been polled know about 988. What 988 is an opportunity to reimagine crisis response. We have an initiative called Reimagine Crisis Response. If you want to go online and look at it, it's Reimagine Crisis, reimaginecrisis.org. But what I want to say about it is, if you think about who we have at the table, we have over 54 different partners. We have law enforcement at the table with us. Law enforcement doesn't want to be the response to someone navigating a mental health crisis. And we also know that if we have someone that is in a crisis, and we have 988, you have someone to call, that's a certified crisis counselor on the other end of the phone. You have a team to respond if you can't de-escalate that situation or that individual. And that team is made up of hopefully a social worker and a possible other medical kind of a behavioral health professional to go and help. And if they can't de-escalate when they do respond in person, then they have a safe place to take them. So it's really 988 is looking at someone to answer that call that is a crisis counselor, someone to respond if needed that's not law enforcement, and a place to take the individual if they need to go to a safe place for care.
Yeah, we can give that a big round. That's a huge change in America.
Yeah.
Dan, you've been an advocate for NAMI, working with faith leaders. And it goes back to your time at the APA Foundation. You want to tell us a little bit about what you've done and why that's important and why NAMI is engaged in working with faith leaders?
So these two gentlemen on the sides of me, as well as the folks backstage, are probably going to get mad because everybody's on a clock here. So as you can tell, when you ask me a question, I have to make sure that I'm very comprehensive in my answer. So I'm going to apologize to you all right now if I go over.
Come a long way.
Faith is critically important. If you really think about us in community, who do we trust? Who do we trust? And it's really that faith-based leader. Be there a rabbi, imam, Episcopal priest, Presbyterian, it doesn't matter. It's who we trust. So that's where we go. Now, when I got to the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, the first thing I did is I did a kind of an inventory of what were the products that they had there and what was sitting on the shelf. And I found this right here, Mental Health, a guide for faith leaders. It was sitting on the shelf. It was not being used. It was collecting dust. And what I learned about this work is that what the American Psychiatric Association had done is they had commissioned over 200 leaders from across the country to come to Washington to actually create this. And this body of work is pretty good. And from the standpoint of what it talks about is it educates the faith-based leader on what is mental illness, what are anxiety disorders, what are some of the other things. The bigger part of this in terms of answering Doug's question is it takes all of us. It takes solutions from all the different organizations. And this mental health guide is just one of those. I saw it on the shelf, and we operationalized it, and we started getting it out to communities.
That's an awesome thing that's being done. And I appreciate Dr. Keely Petty here doing great work on the ground in San Antonio and Pastor here. So tell us about your alliances with the Divine Nine and HBCUs. We've got a HBCU here, St. Philip's College. For the audience who may not know what the Divine Nine is, the Divine Nine are African-American fraternities. And so you have Alpha Phi Alpha and sororities. You have Alpha Phi Alpha, the fraternity of Dr. King. You have Alpha Kappa Alpha, the sorority of Kamala Harris. Tell us a little bit about those alliances.
The Divine Nine is critically important from the standpoint of engaging. You know, we say at NAMI, nothing about us without us. So who is us? So we need to include all of these, the communities, and do everything we can to bring people into the collective, into the community, Divine Nine is critically important to that, and we at NAMI have begun some work with the Divine Nine, and we have relationships with Sigma Gamma Rho, Delta Sigma Theta. Delta Sigma Theta is one of the largest sororities in the United States with over 350,000 members. We had a relationship that we're looking to restart with the AKAs, which Kamala Harris is a member of. So the Divine Nine in that whole suite, the Pan-Atlantic Council represents all 9 of those, and we've met with the Pan-Atlantic Council, and many of them, we actually spoke at an event at the beginning of the year with Kappa Alpha Psi, because their leader has decided that mental health is their #1 initiative for his campaign year. So we're trying to get out to all of the Divine Nine to actually demystify mental health. Demystify mental health. And to say that it's critically important that we have a collective conversation about resources.
Awesome.
You know, talking about fraternities and sororities, it reminds me of the work that NAMI is doing with young adults. Would you say something about Next Gen and what you're doing there?
Yes, next generation. We call it Next Gen. About 4 years ago, we got a little bit of funding, and the vision was to actually say, okay, we say nothing about us without us, and we also say you're not alone. Where are our young people? So about 4 years ago, we decided to put out a call over email, actually an application process. Over 30 days, we sent out an application process for young adults between 21 and 25 to come and work with us to help form and frame our work going forward, to be a part of our work. So we indicated in the application process we had 10 seats. And here's the criteria. We got 740 applicants for 10 seats. Young people care about this. So that's thank you. So next generation of leaders in the mental health space, next generation of voices in the space, and they're helping us form and frame our work. We're on our 4th year now, and we're looking to do more. The other thing that we've done from the standpoint of next gen is we have a youth and young adult group that we have in addition to that group. But we said, you know what? We haven't gone the full distance. We're saying that we care what young people think, but we say we want them to help us form and frame our work. Where is a lot of our work done? Where are a lot of the executive decisions made? They're made at the board level. So we actually got with our board and our executive committee, and we amended our bylaws to include 2 seats for young adults to be on our board.
Sadly, our jails are one of the top places of serving mental health, if not the top, unfortunately. And serving, I'll put in quotes, because depending on what jurisdiction you are in, there's no service at all. And that is not the place for those folks who are going through a mental health challenge. In Texas, we saw huge cuts to mental health. Our rankings are down at the bottom. Talk to the folks here today about where do people go when they exit those jails and even prisons to help get additional services?
Well, it's a national issue from the standpoint of what we know is that someone that's navigating a serious mental illness, they need help, not handcuffs. So what does that look like? So first of all, before we go to the jails and the prisons, what can we do upstream to actually change that outcome? Because we also know statistically that if someone gets into the criminal justice system that has a mental health situation, very rarely are they able to pivot back and get into the mental health system. So we need to go upstream. Now answering your question regarding where do they go, there's so many gaps. But there are different kinds of solutions. But one of the biggest things is housing, and is therapy, and our safe spaces. And it's like, well, what led to the situation, and are we sending them back to the situation they came from? So what can we do to provide stabilization units, housing, and employment opportunities? So those are some of the things that we need to be doing as an individual is matriculating back out into the community. We also need to make sure that they can get their services at least 30 days before they come out of a jail, because a lot of times when you go into that county jail, you lose your services. You lose your. And so how do we make sure that they get their services, their medications and things like that as they come out of the jail?
Yeah, just so you know, I'm going to kick it over to Doug, but 2 weeks ago I had a meeting with our jail in Haven for Hope on this very subject in Bexar County, trying to ensure that those who are going through the justice system before, as you said, get back on, because those things are cut. Your Social Security and other benefits are often cut. So we're working to try to bridge that gap. And of course, you know, with a housing issue at NACO, the National Association of Counties, we actually had, where you worked, we actually had a conference that talked about the fact that mental health outcomes are greatly improved with housing stabilization, as well as primary health care outcomes are greatly improved with housing stabilization. And so I helped create the housing bond here in San Antonio in 2017, but the reason I'm mentioning that is not to give myself a pat on the back, it's to empower this audience, many of whom are here, to look out in the next iteration of the bond for additional wraparound services with housing through those dollars. Are y'all going to help us out with that? I hope you will. I hope you will.
And thank you, Commissioner Calvert. You've been a great voice and advocate, and NAMI really appreciates the work you do.
Honored.
You mentioned, Dan, you mentioned employment, and one of the things I am excited about is the CEO Council that you helped create. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. The CEO Alliance is an organization that we founded. I don't like to use but the net is, right as COVID was starting, we looked out and we said, as CEOs of mental health organizations, what can we do now that we are in isolation, now that we can't bring our workforces to the office? We know a lot of people need our services, they need our voices, they need our advocacy, they need our education. What can we do? So myself and a colleague decided that maybe we can bring the CEOs together. And he and I had met in Denver at a conference 20 years ago, and we had said somewhere down the line we would work together. So he called me and said, you know all the CEOs, why don't you reach out to them and see if they'll meet with us on a Saturday? 1 hour. Let's set the rules. 1 hour on a Saturday, no media, judgment-free zone for us to really talk about what are we going to do now that we're in this situation that we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. So we began this organization in earnest at the beginning of COVID, and we met every Saturday for about 7 months, and then we started meeting every Monday. Some of the organizations that are there are the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, the Kennedy Forum with Patrick Kennedy, the National Council on Well-Being, One Mind, and there's several others. Mental Health America. And what we wanted to do is to have a place for all of us as a collective to talk about solutions. And some of those that we actually met with some of the agencies and used our collective voice to say, we would like for you to be able to provide services across state lines during COVID. We would like you to be able to do these things. So we used our collective voices to create there's strength in numbers to say, what can we say together that can be done? We are still working together almost 4 years later, and we meet every other week, and we have an agenda from the standpoint of what needs to be addressed, and we actually are looking to do that as a collective, and it is 15 organizations, and we have been striving to keep them together. Tom Ensel from NIMH, he said at a conference a year ago, he says, I tried to do this, Dan. I can't believe that you all have been able to keep it together. So it is a work in progress, and we're very proud of it. And NAMI's very proud to be one of the founders of it.
I know that there's Stigma-Free Workplace, which is another program that you're working on. But as we close here, I want to ask you, what are you most proud of having worked on during your time with NAMI? What gives you the greatest sense of satisfaction and pride?
The tables that we're now sitting at, the places that we have been invited into that we had not been invited into before, and the body of work that we're doing. I heard mentioned earlier the books. We're also trying to be very innovative with meeting people where they are. So what I'm proud of is the fact that we are being innovative, we are being creative. We have created a podcast called Hope Starts With Us, Pathways to Hope. Pathways to Hope. Hope is everything. So we have the You Are Not Alone, the NAMI Guide to Navigating Mental Health with 130 first-person stories, where we actually are launching a second book on the 10th of September that will be for caregivers and parents. And it's also written from first-person experiences. So we're not a publisher, but I'm excited because we're meeting people where they are. We're trying to use new platforms to meet people where they are versus where we want them to be. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the tables. I'm excited about the work we've done legislatively from the standpoint of, when there's things that are going on legislatively on the Hill, for instance, parity, over 60-some% of all of the letters that came in to say that you need to address this came from NAMI. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we're the major voice when it comes to being able to talk about what's taking place on the Hill and impacting what legislators do. You know, we talk to legislators all the time. We say, you know, it's appreciates your leadership, appreciate the tone and temperament you're setting. And now, Mr. Commissioner, it's about execution. So we do that with the legislators. The other thing I'm proud of is share of voice. Share of voice is something that we look at from the standpoint of what is the share of voice we have across media. We have over 74% of the share of voice amongst all the mental health organizations. Now, that's not important to brag about. That's important for us to acknowledge the importance of our voice and lived experience. What I'm most proud of is that I've been given the chance to have this voice and to actually share what we're doing from a lived experience standpoint.
Doug, let me just say, I know we're about to close, but I would be remiss if I didn't invite everyone to join with NAMI in this advocacy fight. It is so important that you all who are here in this audience link up either with your local or the national branch so that you can help. He can't do it alone, and he can't do it alone. None of us can do it alone. We're going to do it together. And one of the reasons that mental health was cut in Texas was because there weren't lobbyists for it and there wasn't enough advocacy for it. That has been the change of NAMI over these decades. So you cannot sit on the sidelines. The Texas legislature left all kinds of funding on the table. We have billions more money in our rainy day fund than all the states in the United States combined. And you know, just this week or yesterday, charter schools came to me asking for funding for mental health. We did it for most of our public school districts here. We provided counselors as a commissioner's court. But that is a state obligation. The Texas Education Agency is overseen by the state. They have money sitting in the Texas Treasury that could be used to help expand mental health in all schools, charter, private, and public.
Wow.
So let's work on it together.
And there you have your mandate. And I want to thank Commissioner Calvert for coming out this morning and also just for your great advocacy and standing with us and being there whenever we ask. And I want to thank Dan Gillison for making the trip down here and for joining us this morning. He's going to be roaming the lobby and going to sessions, and so if you see him and you have a question, you know, just ask him. And I want to thank you all for coming out. This is a big deal to bring our community together. We're doing what we set out to do 9 years ago, to have that community conversation about mental illness and how to destigmatize mental illness and how to normalize the conversation. Thank you all, and look forward to the rest of the workshops and the rest of the day.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Mm.
Thank you, Doug.
Come on, y'all. That was some
Give them a
good
round of
stuff.
applause.
Give them
Yes.
another round of applause.
I'm going to deviate from our script for a second here. Last year I shared with you that when we were on stage here that I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 2.5 years ago. and it's now 3.5 years, and it's been a journey. It's been an interesting journey. This spring, at the beginning of the year, I was taking 40 pills a day. 40. Just hear that out. 40 pills a day, trying to make sure that I could stand up and function throughout the day. With that, my neurologist, my neurosurgeon said, you need to have brain surgery, and I went through that this spring, and they installed electrodes in my head, and I'm standing before you without any Parkinson's medications in my system at all. Yes, yeah.
It's been a journey.
It is a journey.
It's a journey.
And it doesn't come without its complications. And so I struggle every day with typing and writing. I can't do that anymore, so I have to use dictation software. And it's hard, y'all, and I get it. And actually, about 5 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety due to the struggles that I'm dealing with. And so it is a journey. And I wanted to just say that publicly because I am a pastor and a preacher in this community. I'm a leader, and I want you to know I'm walking that journey with you, and we're here in it together. So it is a journey, and the planning committee for this event has extended incredible grace and love to me throughout this journey. I couldn't be at every meeting. I was out for about 6 or 8 weeks after the brain surgery, and they continued doing the work, the hard work of making this conference happen. And so thank you to everyone. It's an amazing deal.
And I was sent out to make an announcement on parking. It wouldn't be a conference without some announcement on parking.
That's right,
If you parked in the blue zone at First Baptist Church today, that is, the other 2 lots are open, yellow and orange, not the blue. So you may want to move your car. The St. Mark's parking lot, people, everybody's fine. So want to keep you all from getting a ticket.
That's right, yellow and orange.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes,
Yellow
yeah.
and orange today at First Baptist.
We've got some housekeeping things that we need to take care of, and Keely's going to run through those for you real
Listen,
quick.
we want to make sure that you understand that the layout where the restrooms are. Do you all know where the restrooms are? We don't want anybody triggered or activated
Yes.
because you cannot find the restrooms. We also want you to know that there's a printed version of the program as well as a mobile app. During the conference, there'll be a special room set aside for prayer and meditation. The room is located at the mezzanine level above the main lobby. Secondly, the workshops, the break rather for workshops and that lunches can be picked up after your first workshop, right? Pick it up after your first workshop. However, you do get to take your lunch into your workshop. If you didn't reserve a lunch, the concession stand will be open and available for you to go ahead and make your purchase. And please visit the exhibit tables. They have some really great information, some great connections, some great networking, and it's free. Stop at the exhibit tables. So guess what time it is?
It's workshop time.
It's hammer time.
That's right. Your
hammer
lunch tickets are
time.
on the back of your name tag if you reserve those, and so look for those. And it is workshop time, and so the workshops begin at 10:15, and we'll see you all there. Thanks so much. We're glad you're here.
Blessings on your day.